Just here crossing the Rio Grande. Boy, that was quite the job there. Thank you, Brenda, for leading me across. I've always wanted to come to America. I'm kidding, just kidding. As you can see, Brenda and I are here crossing rivers this morning. We're feeling a little bit more adventurous than normal, so we're out doing a little river crossing, and I have my trusty waterproof hiking boots on, so we're hitting it. Hope everyone's having a nice day thus far. Tuesday, February 13th. It's just afternoon. It's like 5 afternoon right now. And again, we're here in Crawford State Park, but we're in a different location. We're actually taking a little tributary trail. It's actually pretty nice. And I believe this trail is maybe like, I think this is like a 3/4 of a mile trail, somewhere around there. It's not very long, but it just goes in a different direction. And again, it's a nice place to hike. You know, it's secluded. It's very forested. We have a nice breeze blowing today, so you can hear the wind rustling through the trees. It's just a very, very nice, peaceful day. And the weather's actually pleasant too. I mean, as you can see, it's absolutely gorgeous today. It's nice and bright and sunny. There's no clouds in the sky. It's probably in the high 50s right now, approaching 60. So it's nice, especially for mid-February here in the Midwest. I mean, this is just absolutely beautiful weather. You know, we had snow yesterday. Yesterday morning was fairly chilly, and we had about, I think we received like 3 to 4 inches of snow yesterday. But as I mentioned in the video yesterday, the snow melted really quickly. I mean, it went from being, 3-4 inches probably in most areas to practically disappearing by day's end. So things change quickly here in the Midwest, obviously, right? But anyway, thank you for tuning in and watching the latest Brenda's Brendel adventure. And as you can see, this little upslope area right in front of us, this is basically what separates where we are from Lake Crawford. Lake Crawford is basically a few hundred yards beyond that large embankment that you see. There's like a little service road that sort of runs up around there, and then there's like a little parking area, and then just beyond that is the lake. So here we are, and we have a nice little wooden bridge here to partake. And Brenda's she's taking the lead, as she always does, right, girl? You gonna be the first to cross? You gonna let me know if it's sound enough for me to follow? All right, girl. Go on, do it. Run. Go, girl. You're the leader. Go. And I don't actually know the name of this trail. I'll look it up actually, and I'll post the details on the video if I can actually locate that information. But as of now, I'm just gonna call this a nice, beautiful trail. That's the nomenclature that I'm gonna attach to this particular trail. But man, it's just so peaceful out here. I mean, the sound of the wind, there's a light breeze blowing, like I said, and the few leaves that are actually left on the tree, they're rustling in the wind, and most of the trees obviously are on the floor. They've created quite the canopy on the forest floor. But all these cottonwood trees, most of these trees, the ones that look like they've been painted white, it's like the bottom of the tree is gray, basically a grayish color, a darkish color, and then as you pan up towards the top, it looks almost like the branches were painted with white paint. And that's a cottonwood. Cottonwood trees you tend to find around creek beds and rivers and streams. They're a very riparian type of a tree. And there's quite a few cottonwoods out here. And that's basically the trail, the creek basically that we just crossed. We just crossed a little bit further down, along the creek, but we crossed that creek. And then way off in the distance there, that's one of the buildings associated with the Farlington fish hatchery. That's where they have the fish hatchery right there. So you know, we're really close. We're to where we normally hike. We're just on the opposite side of the forest, basically, and we're just out doing our thing. And we actually have a few fir trees, you know, fir, pine. Basically, they're all in the pine family. But, you know, in this particular part of Kansas, I haven't seen very many pine trees or fir trees at all, but there's a few, you know, and most of these are cottonwoods, but there's a few fir type trees mixed in here. Obviously, you know, the ones that obviously aren't deciduous, the ones that are evergreen. And I'm not exactly sure of the actual type, the specific type of tree, but I believe they're all pine. They're all in the pine forest, but whether these are specifically pine or fir, I'm not very adept at my tree identification. But these are pretty nonetheless, and it gives the forest a nice canopy here. It's like, it's really shaded right here, and you can barely even hear the wind blow because it's so heavily forested right here. You know, this is something different. This is, again, I'll have to look it up. I'm just an amateur tree identifier. I'm in the very early stages of learning tree identification, so please bear with me. If I say something that's incorrect in the video, feel free to respond. Because I have been known to make a few mistakes with my facts over the years. Unintentionally, of course. Here's a better view of a lot of the evergreen trees that you have here. You know, most of it, like 90% of this forest is deciduous, but there are a few localized areas of evergreen trees, and this is a nice representation of that. And even though they don't lose their leaves, I mean, a lot of the evergreens, they turn brown, you know, during the height of winter. You get around January, February, and quite a few of the evergreen species, while they don't lose their leaves, they definitely brown. They take on a brown appearance, and some of these trees definitely have that brown look to them. But then some of the other ones are still nice and green. And Brenda's out exploring. You know, she's making sure I'm safe. She's keeping all the squirrels and the jackrabbits at bay. She doesn't want me to get mobbed, you know, by the forest paparazzi. So thank you, girl. And there's just so much fuel out here. I mean, look at all this wood and all this foliage and all the dried grasses and the leaves. I mean, thankfully they don't get forest fires out here the way they do out west. You know, out west where it's really dry, California, Nevada, certain parts of Oregon, the dry part of Oregon and Washington. I mean, that unfortunately there's lots of wildfires out there, but we're okay out here. I had to put Brenda back on the leash. I saw a few hikers over in the opposite direction over there, so I don't know if they have a dog with them, and I don't know if they're pet friendly themselves. So again, I want to be the responsible pet owner, so I don't want to just let my dog run amok. So have to put Miss Brenda on the tether here, even though she doesn't like it. She likes to be free. She likes to run free, just like the wind, and I don't blame her. But she gets enough of the off leash time as it is, so she's okay. All right, we have a nice little forest sign with absolutely nothing to read. And we're going to be turning off in the northerly direction here. And again, I hope you like these little forest hikes, because it's just, you know, Brenda and I just love to get out and just explore and hike, find new trails, find little offshoots of trails that we already know. And we already did 2 laps around the Spider Leg Bridge Trail. That's our normal go-to trail. So we did 2 laps around Spider Leg already. So we have a mile under our belt already. So we're gonna add, hopefully we'll get closer to 2 miles of walking this morning, which is pretty good. That's a pretty good amount to start the day. And then Brenda gets a lot of additional walking throughout the day. And so do I, obviously. So I've mentioned that I have bad hips, and It's not always easy to do all this walking. You know, there's days where I would just rather sit down and just read or watch TV or just meditate or something. But having such a high energy dog, I mean, Brenda, she's young, she's active, she's strong, she's high energy. I mean, she just needs so much exercise, and I'm trying to meet her exercise demands, you know, so I'm trying to give her as much exercise each day as possible. And most of the time I succeed, you know. I mean, we average probably about 3.5 to 4 miles of walking per day. And that's, you know, that's a fair amount of walking. And a large part of that, Brenda gets to walk off leash. I mean, she gets to run, actually. So a big chunk of Brenda's daily mileage involves running free. So she gets her cardio in, and I get a fair amount in, you know, in addition to my working out at the gym. So I'm still maintaining myself pretty well, but I really need to get these bum hips fixed as soon as possible, because certain days I tend to struggle. And we're going to be approaching our fellow hikers up here soon. So let's see. Yep, we passed 2 hikers, nice friendly hikers, and Brenda rose hell. She gave them a little bit of hell, started barking at them. So Brenda's a little bit of a prima donna at times. She kind of thinks that wherever she happens to be, that location belongs to her and her alone. So Brenda obviously thinks this forest is hers. This is her backyard. So she saw 2 people that weren't supposed to be here, so she went off. But luckily she didn't go off the charts, and those people were really nice, so no problems. But this is a really nice trail because it's so forested, and it has more diversity than some of the other trails because of the evergreen trees here. I mean, there's quite a few evergreens here. I mean, actually this section is mostly evergreen. The deciduous trees on this side of the trail are in the minority. And then you see a lot of the browning up close. Actually, those are more like, they're like little buds, the brown. So maybe it's just the tree preparing for the spring, sprouting. Maybe they're just sprouting new needles or something. I'm not sure. I have to do more research. Again, I'm not a botanist. I'm not a professional. I'm not a what you would call Mr. Botany. But I'm curious about it nonetheless. All right, and I think we've come to an end of this particular trail. We took a little offshoot of one trail, and it led us to this very much dead end right here, you know. So I don't feel like jumping into the creek to cross. I know Brenda would probably be up for it, but I'm definitely not going to do it. So we're going to have to backtrack and take the trail back in the opposite direction to find the main trail. Right, girl? You want to go back in the opposite direction? Let's go. I didn't bring my swimming trunks. Come on, girl, let's go. Come on, come on, come on. I didn't learn what a social trail was until we came out onto this particular trail. And basically, I mean, I actually know what it is, but I never knew it had an official name, a social trail. So it's basically a trail that someone creates on their own, you know, where a hiker will deviate off of the main trail, and they basically blaze their own path. And, you know, they end up creating their own trail. So it has an official name. Social trails are unofficial trails that creep into a trail system, and it's bad for the environment, obviously. So they have a little placard here informing people basically to, in effect, stay on the main trail. Great advice. And there you go, sycamore. This is the land of sycamore here. They're pretty trees. I really like the sycamore trees, you know, and they're so plentiful out in these parts. You know, as I mentioned previously, I mean, they're especially pretty when they have the white bark, you know, either running down the entire tree or even just up towards the top of the tree. You know, I mean, it looks so much just like someone just took a paintbrush and dipped it in white paint and just, you know, layered on the paint all along the bark. You know, it's just beautiful. This weather is actually spoiling me, you know. I mean, I'm having, you know, deja vu. I actually feel like I'm in Southern California. Here it is, the middle of February, and it's probably going to be about 60 degrees, 62 degrees today. So that's not too far off of LA. You know, I haven't looked at the LA weather or Cerritos weather to be specific, but it's probably somewhere in the upper 60s today, maybe 70-ish. So as you can see, I'm not overly layered up either. I just have this little Avalanche sweatshirt on, and I've got, these are insulated sweatpants, so they are insulated, but that's a little bit too much for today. I'm actually feeling a little bit warm today because of my insulated pants. But hey, I'm not complaining, man. This weather is just absolutely beautiful. I mean, mid-February and it's nice and sunny and warm. I'll take it. Alrighty, we found our original trail and we are heading back through the evergreens, heading back to the little stream crossing, and then back to our vehicle. So we are going to be finishing up this video right quickly. And Brenda, I know Brenda's getting nice and hungry probably, so she's going to be ready to go home and eat. She always has a voracious appetite after we get through with our daily hike. I'm kind of hungry myself too, so. All right, I think Brenda's tired. She wants to go home. We just crossed the creek. We crossed the creek and we're back over here near our initial starting point. And we're gonna slowly meander probably another 1/8 of a mile back to the parking structure, the parking lot. And we're gonna head home. So thank you for watching. Thank you for spending a few minutes with Brenda and I as we go about our adventures. Have a nice day.